New questions are being raised about the potential transfer of advanced American weaponry to Ukraine, specifically the long-range Tomahawk cruise missile. During an address last week, Vice President J.D. Vance addressed growing speculation that President Donald Trump is considering selling Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine. Vance stopped short of confirming the reports, but crucially, he did not deny them either. He emphasized that any transfer under discussion would be a sale, not a gift, and that the final decision rests solely with the president. The ambiguity of Vance's response has only intensified scrutiny, especially given Trump's own shifting stance on US military support for Ukraine. While he has repeatedly called for reducing American involvement in the conflict, his administration has also sought to maintain leverage in negotiations with Moscow. Whether the talk of Tomahawk missiles is a serious policy proposal or a strategic bluff remains unclear. The Tomahawk cruise missile is one of the most advanced and precise long-range strike systems in the US arsenal. With a range of roughly 2,500 kilometers, it dramatically exceeds the capabilities of other systems previously supplied to Ukraine, including the American ATACMS, which has a range of about 300 kilometers. If deployed by Ukraine, Tomahawk missiles could strike targets far beyond the front lines, reaching deep into Russian territory and potentially threatening critical infrastructure and command centers in Moscow and beyond. But there are still some obstacles. To begin with, Ukraine lacks the means to launch the Tomahawk missile. These weapons are designed to be fired from very specific platforms: US Navy guided missile destroyers, advanced attack submarines like the Ohio, Virginia, and Los Angeles classes, or via the newly developed Typhoon ground-based launcher system created by Lockheed Martin. Ukraine possesses none of these platforms. Its navy is extremely limited, especially after the loss of much of its fleet during the Russian annexation of Crimea in 2014 and further losses in the ongoing war. It does not operate any destroyers or submarines capable of firing Tomahawks, nor does it have the trained personnel to run such operations. Its air force, while resilient, does not have strategic bombers compatible with cruise missile technology. As a result, even if the US approved the transfer of the missiles themselves, they would be unusable without the platforms to launch them. That leaves the Typhoon system as the only realistic pathway. The Typhoon is a road-mobile launcher capable of firing multiple missile types, including Tomahawks and SM-6 interceptors. But this too presents logistical and strategic challenges. The system is new, expensive, and still being integrated into the US military. Experts note that stocks are limited, and the Pentagon is unlikely to prioritize foreign transfers when domestic deployment is still underway. Military intelligence officials in Ukraine are well aware of these constraints. Vadim Skibitsky, deputy head of Ukraine's HUR intelligence agency, said in July that Tomahawks are not easy to use and pointed out that Ukraine does not possess the air, sea, or ground platforms needed to operate them. That statement underscores just how distant the prospect remains. And then there's the geopolitical dimension. Even talking about sending Tomahawks to Ukraine carries significant risk. Russian officials have responded harshly to such discussions in the past, and recently, Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said Moscow does not believe Washington has made a final decision on the matter. His statement may have been intended to calm tensions, or to signal that Russia is watching closely and is prepared to respond.
The US doesn't supply Tomahawks to just anyone among the European countries, if I'm not mistaken. Only Spain and the Netherlands have received them. They are being somehow cautious about the rest. And if they consider Ukraine a responsible state that will use them responsibly, that would be surprising to me.
For now, the possibility of Ukraine receiving Tomahawk cruise missiles appears remote. The platforms aren't there. The political will may not be there. And the strategic calculus is far from clear. What is clear is that the conversation itself reflects a growing unease in Washington. As Russia escalates attacks in eastern Ukraine and steps up provocations near NATO borders, US officials appear to be weighing their options and testing the limits of deterrence through public signaling. Whether that includes serious consideration of supplying Tomahawk missiles, or whether it's a bluff aimed at Moscow, remains to be seen.